So let's start from the top. This is the command login screen. We're going to teach you how to enter your compliance docs. And in the process, we're going to be teaching you how to add your contacts into command and how to sort of navigate around the basics of it. And then how to enter your compliance docs, and then obviously how to enter your commission so that you guys can get paid. First and foremost, if you're new to the brokerage and you're not sure what compliance even is, it's basically the documentation of your transaction. The docs are state and broker mandated and are always subject to change. Compliance docs should be submitted upon getting them signed. You should not be waiting until after your transaction to upload them. There's a number of reasons for that, but most important, you don't want to have to go back to your clients after the deal is done and settled and tell them that you have to have them sign more stuff. It just doesn't, it's not a good look. And it, not only that, but it will hold up how fast you guys get paid. So first thing you want to do is log into your command, and how you're going to do that is by going to console.command.kw.com, as you can see up here. It's also agents.kw.com will get you there as well. You can also go through my KW through the command link to get there as well. When you go to your command, it's going to look like this. This is your login screen. You're going to go ahead and put in your credentials, which are the same as your my KW credentials that Tori gave you when you onboarded. Go ahead and sign in. As always, if you have any docs related questions or just compliance related questions, command related questions, you can always reach out to me at compliance@kwphiladelphia.com. I try to be as available as possible for you guys, because the more you know, the easier my job is. So this is your landing screen when you get into command. If you notice in the top right-hand corner is going to be your name, and that's basically your profile section. If you click on that, you'll get a drop-down menu that will allow you to go in and make any edits to your profile. If you click on profile, it'll go into allow you to make any changes to your email, your phone number, et cetera, et cetera. We're not really going to worry about that today, but just so you know where that's at. Also in this drop-down menu are your settings. This is kind of important and related to what we're talking about today, as this is the section of command where you can link to any apps that you want to use in conjunction with command. Whether it be if you want to do smart campaigns on Facebook, Twitter, you want to use it to sync your contacts and manage your database, you can use command for all that stuff. That's not anything that we're going to go into today, but this is the section where you're going to do that. Also important here is that this is where you're going to connect your Docusign to your command, or .loop, or whatever other e-signature platform that you prefer to use. Because I'm not a licensed agent, I cannot show you how to link your Docusign, but I will follow up the class today with a short video by the amazing Marty Miller, who's a KW agent. I believe he's based out of Texas, and he has a ton of awesome command tutorials on his YouTube page that I highly recommend that you check out. I'll send you a video that he has done that will show you how to link your Docusign to your command. It's super quick and easy. And once you get that set up, you'll be able to link your command to your docs that exist in your Docusign account, and it makes things a little bit easier and kind of removes an extra step for you. Once you get all that done, you're going to basically focus on two areas that we're going to look at today: your contacts and your opportunities. On your left side of your home screen is this red KW button. You can click on that and you see that what KW refers to as applets. They're kind of just basically like apps within command. You'll see if you click on the red KW that it'll expand out and tell you what each of them are. You can also just hover over each of these little icons and it'll tell you what they are. So the two we're going to focus on today is your contacts. We're going to add a contact to your database, and then the opportunities app as well. So that's the handshake, and then the contacts is the little person in the window up here. So that's first things first. We want to add a contact. It's super, super, super important that you add your contact before your opportunity, or before you try to create your opportunity. A lot of agents will forget this, and I get phone calls and emails asking why is it that they're an agent's adding an opportunity and they can't find their client's info. It's because they never added their client. So again, because I'm not a licensed agent, I have a bunch of fake contacts in here, but we'll quickly show you how to add in your client's information. You're going to click on this big obvious blue-green add contact button up top, and then it's going to, allow you to, it'll give you this pop-up window that allows you to add any info about your client that you would like to. So first things first, you want to add the agent's name, or the client's name. So we're going to use Ryan's today. And the only thing that you have to add in here is the name. You can add a ton of additional information if you want, but the only thing that's required is the name. And the way you can tell that is next to full name up here. It's got a little star next to it. That's how you can tell if a field is required. Everything else is just added bonuses. If you want to put, you can put as much or as little information in here about your client as possible. You put their contact info, their email, their phone number. And if you click on this add more information, it gives you a couple other drop downs, and there's a ton of fields here that you can fill in. Additional emails, their street address, you can put in their social media profiles. You can even add stuff like their legal name, their birth date, their home anniversary. Some agents will, send out anniversary cards or birthday emails or whatever to their clients just to remind them, of who they are and that they want their business. So you can use command to do all that stuff. Again, the only thing you have to put in here is the client's name, and then you create your contact. So since we've done that, we'll just scroll down to where it says create. And it's mad that I already used Ryan's email. So we're just going to put in another random email here. And it should be happy about that. As you can see, Ryan popped up right away on my list of contacts. Sometimes the contact won't pop up for a couple seconds and you have to just do a quick refresh. So, if you go to add your contact and you're like, oh, it's not there, just give it a second. So we know he's in there now, and we're going to go ahead and start to create our opportunity. So again, opportunity is a little handshake on the left side here. This will take you into your pipeline that kind of allows you to keep track of the business that you are doing and what you have coming up, what potential income you have coming, what's going on with your different listings, buyers, leases, etc. We're not really going to go into this today, but I highly suggest that you play with it. Obviously, the more deals that you do, the more info is going to fill in automatically here. So it'll more easily keep track of your business. If you want to look at opportunities that you have that already exist, you would just click on the all opportunities button up here, and it'll give you a list of opportunities that you've already created. I'm going to go back to where my name is, the tab up here, and that gives me this big, obvious blue-green create opportunity button, just like the create contact button when we were in there. So you'll click on that. It's going to give you another pop-up. There's a couple important things that you should definitely pay attention to here because it's going to affect what happens later on in the process. First things first, it's going to ask you for your market center. It should default to Center City. If you're with multiple market centers, or if you recently moved from another KW, it may give you the option to select your old market center. If you're processing this deal through KW Philadelphia, make sure that you select our market center. If you're, say, with Cherry Hill and you're moving over to KW Philadelphia and Cherry Hill still has you in their system, you're going to have the option, and it may default to Cherry Hill. And when you go to submit your docs, that's where they're going to go. We've had this happen, and then agents hit me up and they're like, why aren't you checking my docs? Well, we come to find out that they're submitting it to the wrong market center. So if you're only with one market center, you're only going to have the option of ours. It's not going to be an issue. But if you are with multiple market centers, or if you're moving from another KW, this could be an issue until you get that sorted out. It's basically until your old market center will remove you from their system, and then you'll only have the option to pick ours. So once you do that, if you're on a team, you'll have the option to select your team here, and then you want to pick the opportunity type. This is very, very important because it will dictate the checklist and the docs that it's going to ask you for as far as what you need to upload. So if you're working with a listing, it's important to select the listing. If you are working with a buyer, landlord, tenant, etc., make sure that you select the right one. If you don't do this correctly and you go ahead and upload all your docs and it's the wrong type of opportunity, you're going to have to do all of this all over again. So this is super important for you to remember. For today's example, we're going to use a listing, and then it's going to ask you for your client name. So this is why it's important to enter your client first. If I start to type Ryan's name, it gives me the option, and That's great. If I didn't enter his stuff in already, it would basically, it wouldn't be able to find anything. And this is where people run into a problem. Oh, I don't know where this person's name is. I'm trying to enter them in and it's not coming up. It's because they never entered the contact info first. So once that's done, you'll notice that the opportunity name will always default to the client's name that you just entered and what opportunity type that you just picked. So we have Brian McLaughlin listing. If you're working with a buyer, obviously you don't at this point tend to know what the property address is, but this is something that you can go back and change later on in the process. You cannot go back and change the type. You can't go back and change a lot of this stuff, but you can change the opportunity name. The reason why I bring this up is because when we're processing your deals, we're always searching by the address. We usually at the beginning of our processing your deal only have the address. We don't know the client's name. We don't even know what type of deal it is, or what side you represent. So it's important that at some point, if you're working with a listing, obviously you know the address right now, so we can go ahead and put in the property address. Again, if you're working with a buyer and you don't know yet quite what property they're going to purchase, this is a field that you can go back and edit later on. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. You can create tags here. As you can see, I have a couple custom tags that I created. If you don't see a tag that's in there, you can go ahead and just type whatever it is, and it'll tell you to create. And then you have a new tag in there. And that basically just will allow you to keep track of, what type of deals these are, if they're waterfront properties, if they're people that live near a park or whatever, you can this is just for you to sort of keep track of things. It doesn't affect what we do at all. You do want to put in an estimated closing date. If you don't know, you can just take a wild guess because you can go back and change this. If you just click on this little calendar icon, it'll give you a calendar that you can scroll through and just pick a date. You do want to make sure that you put your commission rate in here and that is correct. And then obviously if you're working with a listing, you want to put in the listing price that you guys have agreed upon that's in the listing contract. These bottom two tabs here, it does not matter to us what you guys put here. It's more or less for you to keep track of where you are within the pipeline of this particular deal. So we're just going to leave those as is because I really don't care what you guys put there. You'll go ahead and click create, and then it's going to take you into your opportunity. You'll see you have a couple different tabs here at the top. You have your details tab, which is going to give you sort of a window into most of what you just entered. If you want to edit things in here, you see this little pencil icon up top. You can go ahead and click on that. This is where it's going to allow you to edit things like your opportunity name. So if you are working with a buyer and at some point you guys decide, okay, we're going to put an offer for this property and you want to start adding your docs in here, take a minute to go in, change your opportunity name. If you don't do this, I will ask you to do it because it really, really speeds up the process for us on the back end. As like I said, we're always searching for the property address.
So can I jump in for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
The column next to general information, property up top, yes, there, that must be filled in for your commission to be submitted. That is a hiccup we get a lot of times, where that's not properly filled in. And if it's blank, you will not be able to submit your commission. So yes, I just wanted to hit that point while we were there.
Yeah. So if you want to add this stuff in, you want to just click on the pencil icon. And if you just start to search for the property address, I'll use Walnut Street. It'll autofill for you and fill in the rest of the information here. Go ahead and click save. Now that's all filled out. Now you're not going to have an issue with putting your commission in. So once you have all that stuff filled out, seller profile, we're not going to worry about right now. It's basically something that's connected to the old Kelly app, which is really not being supported by KW, as they're going to be rolling out a new command app at some point any day now. So just don't even worry about this. At some point in the future, we're going to probably push out some info on the new app. But we do want to worry about your documents tab. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. This is where you're going to upload your docs to submit to us for compliance purposes. Super important that you do this because this is something I get time and time again from new agents. They forget that they have to pick a checklist type. Now, since we picked a listing, it's only going to give us options for listings, either PA, New Jersey, or Delaware. If you have a New York deal, just reach out to me. I highly doubt you're going to because we don't really do any New York deals, but we don't have a checklist for New York yet because most deals in New York are handled by attorneys. But yeah, if you have a New York deal, please reach out to myself or Vicky and we'll get you rolling on that. But yeah, so you want to make sure you pick a checklist type here because what this is going to do, and it's going to create, we're going to do a PA listing. as you can see, it created these 3 tabs right underneath it that sort of act as stages to your compliance docs. And how it works is for each of these, if you click on them, you'll notice that these checklists over here will change. So the first one is when you list the property, obviously you're going to get your listing docs. So what you'll do is have your affiliated business disclosure signed, your seller's estimated cost should be signed, your listing contract. If you are not listing a property that's new construction, you're probably going to need a lead paint disclosure and a seller's property disclosure, and then of course your consumer notice. So these 6 docs are basically what you're going to need first and foremost when you get a listing. If you don't even have an agreement of sale signed, you have no offers yet, I highly, highly recommend that you take just a few minutes and upload these docs when you get them signed. All these should be being signed when you get the listing. Submit them to us ASAP, because I will let you know if there's any issues with them and you don't look like an idiot at the end of your deal, having to go back and have stuff signed that should have been signed at the very, very, very beginning of the process. And again, it's 6 less docs that we're going to have an issue with at the end, because we know the 3rd check, we know everything's good, and we don't have to worry about that later on. So once you get all these in, I'm going to show you how to just manually upload one. So you could either drag or drop it. You can, since I don't have a Docusign account, it's not giving me an option here. See how it says attach files from. Normally you'd be able to click on that once you have your Docusign connected to your command, and it'll give you the option to pull directly from your Docusign account, or obviously you can just pull them manually from your computer. So there's 2 different ways you can do that. You can either obviously drag and drop if you have a, just a random Explorer window open, you can just drag and drop the files like so. And then as you can see, it created the submit to MC button. This is because we have a doc that's ready to go. It's signed, it's in there. You can even click on it just to go back in and make sure everything's good. Yep, this is what I want to submit. Don't submit each doc as you upload them, but submit each stage as you fill it. So you get your listing contract in there. We can also, if you just click on this, it's going to allow you to browse into your computer and find a doc that you feel should go there. Let's actually put an affiliated business disclosure in there. We're going to go ahead and just click on it, make sure, yep, this is the right one. Yep, everything's signed. So once you get all this stuff in there, you're going to go ahead and click submit to MC. And what that's doing is that's submitting to us on the back end. A lot of agents will forget to do this. They upload everything and then they don't click the submit button. The problem with that is there's a lot of opportunities that exist in KW Philadelphia's command that are just sitting as open. They're kind of in like this weird limbo phase where they're not doing anything. We don't know that I mean, I can go in and look at them, but there's probably 1,500 to 1,000 of them at this, or 1,500 to 2,000 of them at this point. We're not digging through all that stuff to look for your opportunity. So it's important that you submit to us. When you do that, I will get on my end a notification when I log in the morning that says, hey, so-and-so has submitted these docs to you and they want you to look at them. So again, it's important that you do this. If you fail to do this, I'm not going to know that they're ready to go. It's easy to miss this, but it's a super important step. So once you get all that stuff in, you submit everything, you would move on to your next phase. So now you've gotten an offer, you have an agreement of sale, go ahead and upload that here. If you have tenants in the property, tenant occupied property disclosure, you'll notice here, I should point this out, but that some fields are obviously conditional. If you hover over this little I next to it, it'll tell you why it's conditional. So for instance, if you don't have tenants in the property, you're not going to need a tenant occupied property disclosure. For lead paint, you only need lead paint disclosures if a property was built before 1978. And then of course, seller's disclosures, if you need to know what exceptions there are to not having a seller's disclosure, there's a bunch of them. Just look at page 1 of the seller's disclosure and it'll tell you that. You don't need them for REOs or bank-owned deals. You don't need them for estate sales. You don't need them for brand new construction. So get familiar with that. If you're a new agent, take a look at a blank seller's disclosure, look at that list. There's 10 of them that'll tell you exactly why you don't need a seller's disclosure. Most times you're going to need one. If you're not sure, just reach out to me ASAP, and I'll let you know if you need one or not. We got a lot of questions about whether or not people need seller's disclosures. Usually you do, but there are definitely situations where you're not going to need one. Once you get all that stuff in, make sure you submit it to us. And then of course, once the deal closes, you'll have to upload the HUD or the ALTA. That's what the settlement officer or the title clerk will provide to you at the end of closing. for compliance purposes, we do need that document signed by your client, by the buyer or seller. If you represent both sides, we should have a HUD for both sides. You want to go ahead and make sure you upload that. That's usually the #1 doc that I'm waiting for when the deal is closed for me to be able to finish my side of checking all and clearing all your docs. And then I roll it over to Ryan and he can process your commission from there. So yeah, it's just to reiterate, it's super important that you pick a checklist here and that you do go through and add your docs to the placeholders that exist already. A common thing that agents will do, they'll forget that they can click on these and they will, I'm going to show you how to do this. If you click on these 3 little dots over here, this will give you another drop-down menu. There it is. You can add documents, you can add comments to the checklist, and you can export the docs that you already have uploaded. So if you lost your copy somewhere else, you can always pull the docs from here. If you want to add a comment to the checklist, which I always appreciate, something like if a property is built after 1978 and you don't need the lead paint disclosure, if it's missing, I usually will just jump on the MLS and I'll look at the date myself just to verify that, yes, this person in fact does not need the lead paint disclosure. But if you want to just give me a heads up and let me know, you can add a comment to the checklist. You'll see this pop-up box. You can actually @me the same way that you do on social media. So obviously, since I'm in my own account, I'm not going to be able to @ myself, but like, for instance, I can @ Ryan and send him a note. Hey, this is good, no lead paint needed, or something along those lines, and let me know what's going on. And you send that, and that's gonna, now Ryan's gonna get a notification on his command letting him know that I sent him a message. If you fail to @ me and you just add notes here and expect me to see them, think again, because I'm not digging through your opportunities looking for your notes. So it's super important that you add and then obviously start to type Joe Mandel. I can't see my own profile, but you will be able to on your end. I do ask that you don't make that your primary method of communication because I do have an email address. I have multiple email addresses. You can reach me at fishtown@kwphiladelphia.com, compliance@kwphiladelphia.com. It's just, I obviously check my email all the time and I'm going to see those much quicker than I will see the notes in command. But you can use this to let me know certain things. If you're letting me know about lead paint disclosures, please put the date in of when it was built, because if you just put no lead paint needed and that's it, I'm probably going to check anyway, just because I can't trust everybody. But yeah, if you put a date in there, usually I know that you bothered to look yourself. And I can save a little bit of time on my end. It's not the end of the world, but I do appreciate it. Trying to think of other things that I should go over in this section. Oh, so if you are connected to your Docusign account, there's a super quick and easy way to sync your transaction with your Docusign. And I am going to try to share my screen. 1 second. And share a little video here if it works. Can you guys see that? It looks like a YouTube video. Can I get a thumbs up or something? Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I was muted.
Can you hear this?
To the opportunities applet. Of course, our 6th one down, the hand folders.
All right.
Yes, here.
So
Cool.
that pulling documents in.
This is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes long. He's going to show you, once you get your Docusign connected to your command, how you're going to be able to pull docs easily in from your Docusign account. I'm not licensed, so I don't have the ability to hook this up, but I found this great video. This guy, again, it's Marty Miller. As you can see here, he's got a ton of videos that are super helpful with command. If you just want to dig into command, you want to sort of play with not even just the compliance and commission stuff. There's a ton of other really informative videos here. So let me just play this for you guys real quick.
From command, you kind of have things organized. So let's dive into that. We're going to go into the opportunities applet. Of course, our 6th one down, the handshake icon. We're going to pull up the opportunity that we've been working on here. So 1, 2, 3 Quack Lane. We're going to get into documents, and we now have all of our documents inside of Docusign, right? They have been signed, we've sent them off, we've put in the initial signatures, everything's been signed. Now it's time to add them to our opportunity so that we can submit to our compliance broker. And so I've shown you this before, but this is just kind of in that series, the real life example. I have a couple of options. I can add a single file, and I want to choose the source. Since we have them in Docusign, let's go ahead and choose Docusign as our source. And then you can see, okay, here are all of the documents that are inside of our Docusign room right now. And so we are looking for, I totally forgot what the name was, a listing worksheet. So we're going to add a file. We're going to go to Docusign. We're going to look for the listing worksheet. Here it is. And we will assign that document to that placeholder. So you can easily see, here's the file name. I can even click on the file to make sure that this is the correct one that I wanted, that it has been initialed and signed. I've got the correct version inside of it. Now I can do this manually, one placeholder at a time. However, that takes a lot of time. Instead, my recommendation would be to use attach multiple files button up here. So we're going to do that. We're going to choose Docusign. And you can see, because we already loaded the listing worksheet, this placeholder is no longer available. But now we need information about brokerage services. So I can come in and find there's the info about brokerage services, the residential real listing agreement. I need the full MLS printout, and I need the CMA. So I'll scroll down a little bit. There's CMA. I've got those 4 placeholders with those 4 documents. I click on attach. And now all of those documents have been loaded. You can see IAVS in the IAVS spot, listing agreement in the listing agreement spot, MLS printout, right? And as I go through and make sure that each of these are done, once I have all of my required and any conditional or optional documents loaded, I can then click on Submit to MC. It's going to say, are you sure you want to submit this for review? Make sure everything's accurate. And I'll click on Submit. Now, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to inundate my compliance coordinator with a false submission there, but that's how you would do that. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you quickly was inside of Docusign. Take note real quick when we come in to add a file and I choose Docusign. Do you see how it says select folder? And really there's only one folder to choose from right now. I'm going to show you in Docusign how to create additional folders so you kind of keep everything organized. This is a listing right now. And so far, all we have inside of the room are the listing documents. However, we're going to start getting offers pretty soon. And when you start adding the offer documents in with the listing documents, it can become a big jumbled mess if you don't stay organized. And so let's go ahead and go into Docusign and show you how to create those document folders, just so you can keep things kind of clean and separated, right? So if you come up to actions inside of your Docusign room, you're going to see the ability to add a folder. So I can say add folder. It'll say, what's the folder name? Let's call this one contract docs. All right, so I'm going to create that folder. And now let's say, okay, actually these 2 are contract docs. So I want to move those to this folder. So I can use this move button. It'll say, where do you want to move it to? And I want to move it to the contract docs, right? So I would go into, actually it doesn't look like that's going to allow me to move them. Let's see, actually I lied, just click and drag. Pretty simple, right? Sometimes it's much simpler than it needs to be. So if I have multiple, I can just click and drag and you'll see it'll bring over kind of one at a time. I would have to bring those over into the folder. But now I have brought in these 3 documents into the contract document folder. Let's take a look at what that means inside of command. So now when I go back to command, I'm going to click on sync transaction just so everything's updated, right? And now let's go and look for the MLS input form. If I click on add a file, Docusign, it's going to default, right, to the room doc folder. And you can see right now, I can only see the room docs. Oh, I lied. Here's the contract docs. This is brand new, or at least new to me. So I can see the different folders. I've got room docs. I've got contract docs. Now, if I have a whole bunch of documents inside this room doc folder, I don't want to scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. I can just come in and say, I just want to see the documents that are in the contract doc section. That makes that a little easier. Also, if I have this massive list, but I'm just looking for the MLS printout, I can type MLS and there's the MLS printout. So a couple of different kind of feature enhancements with regards to assigning documents from Docusign into your opportunity. Let's just click on that, click on assign, and now I've got the MLS printout and the MLS input form. Uh-oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong document and the wrong placeholder. How do I remove? Last thing I'll show you, click on the 3 dots and I can click on remove. Are you sure? Yes, I am. I loaded the wrong document. Now I can go in and load the correct document. So that's essentially Docusign folders through the actions menu, right? The ability to add different folders. and then inside command, how to load your Docusign documents into your placeholders, how to remove them, how to search for those documents, and how to kind of sort by folder. So,
all right, so that basically gives you a good idea of how to use Docusign with command. I'm going to let Ryan take it over in a minute, but there's a couple things I just want to mention regarding compliance docs before we go into the commission section of things. Just regarding your forms, please make sure that before you submit really before you get them signed, that certain forms like your agreement of sale, your listing contract, your seller's disclosure, lead paint disclosure, they always need to have the property address. If it's a apartment or if there's a unit, the unit number needs to be on those docs as well. That's super important, and we run into that time and time again where people will submit agreements of sale, commission, or listing contracts, and they don't have a property address on there. Super important. Lead paint disclosures, they are needed for any property that's built before 1978, even rehabs, even as is properties. You have to do your due diligence and make sure that you know when this property was built. If you're on the buyer side, don't trust the listing agent. Just that's all I can tell you. You have to do a little research, look in public record, maybe even dig a little deeper and find out when the property was actually built. We definitely need those unless the property was built from the ground up after 1978. The Keller Williams affiliated business disclosure is needed for every deal that we do. Unfortunately, even if they're not using the affiliates, they still have to fill that out. They can cross out all the affiliates and then just sign it at the bottom. That's fine. It acts as a disclosure to let your client know that we have a financial interest in them working with our affiliates. If you don't have proof that you disclose this to them, it could be an issue in the future. So you have to get those signed. If you're working with a buyer, obviously you don't sometimes know what the property is that you're going to be purchasing. So if you don't put the property address on the affiliated, or if it changes at some point, that's fine. I don't really care what address is on there as long as the client's name and signature is on there. Seller's disclosures, as I mentioned earlier, the exceptions for not needing one are on page 1. If you are unsure of anything, just reach out to me at compliance@kwphiladelphia.com. Get familiar with those. There's a lot of reasons why you might not need one. We have people that will submit them and it turns out they don't need them. Closing costs and seller's net, these are needed to be signed. The purpose of these is to let your client know what they're going to be making, what they're going to be spending. You have to let them know in advance what the closing costs are going to be. You should not be submitting HUDs as your closing costs at the end of closing. The closing costs should be submitted to your client and signed before closing. If you are representing both sides of a deal, if you have the buyer and the listing, you do have to create 2 separate opportunities. You kind of are acting as if you are, representing 2 completely different sides of the deal. So you treat them as separate sides. And Ryan will go into how your commission needs to be set up for that. We do have the awesome KW Philadelphia dashboard. It's in all of our signatures. I'll also put a link in the email that I send you guys afterwards. Make sure that you put your email in the chat so I know where to get you at. I'll link you to the dashboard. There are blank versions of almost every form on our dashboard. So if you're in a jam and you just need a blank copy of a document, you'll be able to find it there. Any in-house KW forms, if you're using Dotloop or Zip Forms or another e-signature platform, the in-house KW forms will not automatically update on there. If you're using Docusign, they will. So things like the affiliated business disclosure or, inspection waivers and all that kind of like in-house docs, they're not going to update for you. So you're going to have to get a copy from us. And we'll usually send those out as they get updated. The affiliated, I'm sure, will be updated any day now because there's some things that we need to change on it. All that said, I'm going to let Ryan take it over now and go through the commission side of things, which is probably less involved than what I just went over. Take it away.
Way more involved and way more detailed, Joe, from my end. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Ryan. I process the commissions here at KW Philadelphia. As you can see, just to show you, to follow up with what was going on there, Joe sent me a note letting me know about a lead-based paint disclosure. As you can see, the little bell up here in the top right-hand corner, all you have to do is click on that and you'll go in and it'll bring you right to Joe's note. So you can see how easy that is. It even gives you, as you can see up there in the top corner, a little red button on the bell letting you know that a note was sent to you. So it's an easy way to communicate. It's how Joe and I find most of this stuff. With that said, I am going to show you how to get a commission entered to process to me. The reason it's important to get your commission entered ahead of time, as Joe was stating, is the fact that if I receive a commission, I can get it paid within the 24 or 48 hours if everything that Joe had just went over is done. If you send me a HUD, I can get that HUD to Joe. If you're dropping off a check with a HUD, I can get that HUD to Joe. Mainly, we would like you to put everything in yourself, but when there are crunches, we can help out. We are flexible in that regard. But that said, getting your docs into command is very important. Getting your commission in command, to me, is more important because, well, they're both the same, let's be honest. You can't get paid if you don't submit your commission. So as you can see here, I started a unit and everything, and I left this blank, and I mentioned it when Joe was going, purposely to show everything. So I'm going to go right to offers because Joe did all the docs. When I do this, I must put an offer into command. I have to. It doesn't allow me to go to the commission tab without the offer. So the offer is a requirement. You do not need much information. When you go in there, there is few, if any, red markers like Joe was talking about that say they were that these are required. So you'll go in, obviously you're going to need a name, and you're going to need an associate name. Everything else will autofill from there. When we go to terms, you don't need to put any of this information in. As you see, there's nothing red there. And then when you go to agent analysis, you don't need to put anything in. So you're literally required to put in a name. That is the bare minimum. We would like you to do a lot more. When you use command properly, it can be a huge tool for your business. What we are talking about is getting you paid today, and that's why I am flashing through this pretty quickly. Once that offer is submitted, you can then manage your commission. When you go into manage your commission, it automatically does it for you with everything that you had set up originally when you created the opportunity. You put in the number of units, you put in the percentage of the commission, you've done all that. If you're the only one on the deal, this will autofill and you can hit submit. Now, when it does hit submit, it will tell you what you're missing. I'm missing a listing, I'm missing a contract date, and I'm missing commissions, insufficient commissions amount. So now I have to go fix those things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to detail. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go 2200 USD. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to skip that. Doesn't need it. Huntington Valley is fine. Sorry about this. It won't let me select the state because the property address isn't correct. I'm just going to do that just to get it in there. And then we're going to save. So now that that's in, you'll see that properties, when I go into manage my commission, when I click submit this time, you'll see that listing contract's gone, that everything's gone. The only thing I'm missing now is the contract date. And if you see right over here, it's right in red right there. I can edit general information. I can go down to the date. I can choose or type, doesn't matter. I'm going to choose, save changes. I can now submit my commission to the MCA. I am going to do so. And now this is my recognition that the commission was submitted. Do I want to donate to KW Cares or to the Empowering the Next Generation? If you don't, I'm going to choose skip because this isn't a real commission. I promise I would normally. And then you're gonna see here, bottom corner, commission submitted successfully. You're done. You are gonna be paid what's on the bottom of that where it says pay to agents. That's what's gonna happen there. This is not a real number. Please don't use these as guides, but that's as simple as it can be. If you want to change your commission, you need to email me. If you email me and request me for me to return it to you, I can do that. If you hit this request termination and you hit yes because you messed something up, you cannot reuse this opportunity. You have to create a new one. You will see that when I go into my side of things and I go into the emails, confirm termination, it will not let me do anything else. It will not let me accept the termination. It will not let me use this. The only thing I can do is confirm termination. So if you want to adjust what you've already put in, you're going to need to email me at commissions@kwphiladelphia.com, and I can send it back to you, and and you can edit the information from there. Other than that, once that's done, I shouldn't say other than that, once that's done, there is one document that I require. We like to get multi-use forms. This is a copy of a multi-use form. We use these for a number of things, hence the name multi-use. If there is an escrow deposit that is coming in from your buyer, or from your buyer that you're paying, you are going to use this form to fill that out. Fill out as much information as you can there, and you're going to email that to AJ at escrow@kwphiladelphia.com. If that escrow then is going to be released months later or days later, whenever, you're going to use the top right section of the form for escrow release. We need a settlement date, we need the title company, we need the amount, and we need wire instructions from the title company. We don't want an email that shows a routing number and a bank number. That is not going to work. We need wire instructions from the title company, preferably on their company letterhead. That is required every time. If there is a termination, you can see termination there. Buyer side, seller side, who's getting what. Also, we're going to need a termination agreement with all copies signed, emailed to Vicki Carey, our broker of records, and she must confirm it before we can even process the termination.
And can I interrupt for a second? I just want to let them know. I just want to let them know the multi-use form a blank version of it can be found on the agent dashboard. And I didn't mention the URL earlier, but it's agentskWphiladelphia.com. I'll put a link in the chat as well.
Awesome. The next section that I'm going to go over is the commission section. For a buy sale of a property, you're going to use the top portion. You're going to put how much commission you're going to be paid and if there was a flat fee. If there's a lease and you're on the listing side, you are going to put the total amount of the lease. If it is $1,000 a month, you're going to put $1,000 there. If there's a co-broker from another agency, you are required to provide a W-9 from that agency along with the referral agreement. I would like all of that emailed to me. That makes it easier, so that way when I go to process the commission and write the check, I know the agent's name that check is going to. It saves me time. If you have a referral, your referral amount goes into the bottom there. There is nothing that you need to enter into command. Referrals do not get entered into command as of today. That referral, just email me a breakdown of how much is going to you, how much is going to someone else, if any. I will take care of it from there. Also, on my multi-use form that I have here, and on not all of them, there are a few of these that are floating around. This top section always the same. Mine has the required docs for each transaction. Buy side, list side. Those are going to be some of the required docs. That may not be up to date as of today. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking I need to send it to Joe to make sure that those are all still required and then that there's not anything that wasn't added.
Since we're talking about it, I just want to mention, I I note here that his version of it has for the HUD, ALTA, and closing disclosure. We do not accept the closing disclosure for compliance. We need the HUD or ALTA. Every title company is required to give you a copy of this after the closing, so you should have a copy of the signed HUD or ALTA.
All right, perfect. So that's the first thing we'll edit, and then Joe and I will go over that and get it right so everybody can see what the docs they require going forward. That is commissions. That will get you paid within 24 to 48 hours. My job is to process those commissions as quickly as possible so that you are paid, and I enjoy doing that. But when there are problems, and there are problems, I cannot do my job properly. And with your help and you understanding what Joe said and the way Joe talked about the documents and getting everything, the contacts and getting everything in there, and then following the simple guideline that I gave you for entering commissions, you will help us tremendously, and we would appreciate it.
And you'll get paid super fast.
Yeah, and you'll get paid super fast. Exactly. So if you have any questions, my email address is commissions@kwphiladelphia.com. My name is Ryan. Please feel free to reach out. We have been told we are a very friendly accounting department. We're always available, and that is the truth. So thank you all for coming today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks so much, Ryan. This was good class. We will make this recording available on the YouTube page, and I guess we'll see you guys on the flip side.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
Friday.
Do the same.
Thanks.